Hey guys, we're back with another video. So, I'm back at college. So, winter break's over. Here I am. I think I might probably get a lot of hate for this video, but it's something I wanted to kind of just get off my chest because I see a lot of hate like on Facebook and Reddit. I'm going to try to post some images of what I'm talking about before the video starts. We'll see how that goes in the editing room. But if I don't do that, I'm probably just like post them like on my Facebook or my Instagram, maybe my Twitter. So, you know, keep your eyes peeled for those and be sure to follow me on my social media. Yeah, like on Facebook, I got in a whole argument because people seem to hate on the Sam Raimi Mary Jane. And I wanted to give my interpretation of why I think the hate is undeserved. Because I see a lot of memes comparing Mary Jane to like Ursula Dickovich, the roommate from the Raimi trilogies, or comparing her to Zendaya, or to Gwen Stacy from the Amazing trilogy, Emma Stone. And I just think the hate's kind of undeserved, because they'll like, you know, call her a whore or whatever. It's not really necessary, but you know, the internet will be what it will be. So, you know, because most of the things say that she, like, cheated, and she always complains, and she always needs to be saved, and all that mumbo-jumbo. Now, okay, sure, she cheated, and she wasn't, like, the best girlfriend. She wasn't, like, a well-written character, so to speak, or like really accurate to the comics. There's kind of some meh, but so let's dive into the Raimi trilogy and we'll get into my interpretation. Okay, so we have the first Spider-Man movie, and we're going to, of course, focus on Mary Jane and Peter. So we start the movie, and Mary Jane is dating Flash. Okay, everything's going fine, great. No problems there. But then, like around the time they graduate, she breaks off with Flash, and then she starts dating Harry, and you can kind of tell she isn't really into him. She turns away when he tries to like kiss her at the festival party thing up on the balcony, and she clearly doesn't like enjoy the way like Norman talked about her at Thanksgiving, and you know, he didn't really stick up for her. She's granted, of course, Harry and Norman have a not the best relationship, to say the least, so I mean that's gonna cause some tension. And she, you know, kisses Peter at the hospital because he's kind of like laying the moves on her, if you will. And then even whenever Harry is talking to her on the phone after the festival party thing, then she like hangs up on him, doesn't even tell him goodbye. So, you know, or at least that's who we can assume Harry's talking to. We don't have like factual evidence on that part, but we can assume because he's like, I love you, and she like hangs up the phone. So that's an assumption. But okay, so you know, Harry and MJ like fight, and then I don't know if it's explicitly stated, but we can assume they break up, right? Because clearly MJ isn't happy, so she probably breaks it off, and then she kind of like throws herself at Peter, more or less, at the funeral for Norman, and he like rejects her. And then we go into the second movie, and this is kind of where I think, in my opinion, that the whole relationship within itself isn't the best. It's not just on Mary Jane, although of course she's at fault. It's not just Mary Jane's fault. We don't need to like, you know, call her a whore or whatever. Like, it's not the best relationship. Okay, so Peter doesn't want to date Mary Jane because of the Spider-Man thing, the responsibility that he has to protect the world, or New York at least. So he's got to protect New York. Okay. So he can't be in a relationship. But then he kind of tries to date her anyway. He I'm gonna come see your play. He reads poetry to recite to her, or as the great Otto Octavius said, to feed her poetry. So he reads poetry. He tries to date her, and that conflicts with his powers. He starts losing his webs, his ability to crawl walls, and he has this confliction in his heart or whatever. And he's divided the line of hero and civilian, and it causes confliction. But he can't tell her that he loves her, or that he's Spider-Man, which again I think is kind of where he is a bit at fault, because he says no at the funeral, we're just friends, right? Only a friend to Peter Parker. He's that's all I can give, or something like that. So he rejects her, and then he still tries to date her. He still tries to feed her poetry and go to her plays or whatever. So again, I think that's because it's going to cause mixed signals in her brain, right? That's going to confuse her. So that's kind of where I think that Peter starts to lose face a little bit in that respect. And then of course she's going to marry John Jameson, the son of J. Jonah Jameson. Okay, and then he loses his powers, or he starts losing them more and more, until eventually he kind of gives up being Spider-Man. Of course, we get the infamous trash can scene. So he gives up being Spider-Man, and then again he keeps trying to date her. He goes to see the play. He I thought we could get back on where we left off. You can't get back on when you never got off, or whatever the big scene is. Punch me, I bleed. All that stuff. So then he again tries to keep forcing the romance. Okay, he's giving up being Spider-Man. That's fine. And then he kind of, so she is okay, fine, maybe I'll ditch John for Peter, so he can live happily ever after, whatever. And then she gets kidnapped, or excuse me. So maybe you can assume that she's thinking about it, because Mary Jane invites Peter to the coffee shop to persuade him into dating her, kiss me or whatever. And that's exactly when he starts believing he can be Spider-Man again. So he says no, I can't. And the car gets thrown, and then his identity gets revealed, and then we get Spider-Man 3. Okay, so and now they're in a relationship, and they're presumably, they seem pretty happy, right? He goes to her plays. He's Spider-Man. He's the king of the world, right? That's what he says in the beginning. Everybody loves me. Ooh. He's very egocentric and full of himself. He's happy. He's all that stuff. And then again, this is where things get rocky, so to speak. I mean, they were always kind of rocky again, because Mary Jane, dumped Flash. Fine. No big deal there. And then she kisses Peter while she's presumably dating Harry. I don't remember if they ever broke up off screen. So she kisses Peter while she's presumably dating Harry and all that. And then she tries to date Peter while dating John, and everything kind of or at least she's not happy with John, because she does the upside down kiss thing, and she's and then so they're dating, and then Peter kisses Gwen upside down, and then Mary Jane gets jealous, and then she Peter is kind of full of himself. He's enjoying being Spider-Man, so she doesn't get the attention that she feels she deserves, right? She feels neglected. So then she goes to Harry and kisses him and leaves, which again she feels she shouldn't have done. She kind of freaks out, I shouldn't have done that, and she leaves and all that. And then Peter finds out, goes and beats up Harry, and then that leads to Peter wearing the black suit. He takes Gwen out, makes MJ jealous, and then he like accidentally hits her. So I mean, that's always kind of where I like drew the line, because he like hit MJ, and everybody's like, oh, he's under the black suit, and it's forgivable, so to speak. And again, I got in a whole argument on the internet about it, because again, I'm trying to put a more like realistic lens on this relationship, and trying to like, because again, I think the main problem is like everybody just attacks Mary Jane. I mean, again, Peter is at fault too. Mary Jane has faults. Peter has faults. It's not the best relationship. So I don't think we should just like forgive Peter automatically. Like, I feel like everybody's just throwing their arms up like, Peter's a victim, blah, blah, blah. And like, okay, maybe she cheated on him, and like, but again, that doesn't forgive him being hit. It doesn't excuse him hitting Mary Jane, excuse me. And okay, like, I tried to put the spin of like alcoholism into it, because if you're drunk and you hit your spouse or whatever, your partner, then I don't think you can just automatically be forgiven, right? There should be some sort of, because if you hit your spouse while you're intoxicated or whatever, then, sorry about that, there were some technical difficulties. So as I was saying, if you were drunk and you like hit your wife or your spouse or your boyfriend or whatever, then I mean, you know, like, you can't just say like, I was drunk and it's forgiven, right? There has to be like rehab or like some sort of commitment to change for the better. Now, one of the better arguments I saw while going through all this was that, like, you know, he didn't see her, he like didn't try to hit her, he was like trying to stop the like bouncer guys, and he kind of just swung, and he saw what he did, and it was horrible. Okay, like, that's maybe a better argument than like, oh, he was under the influence of the symbiote, because like, I mean, you know, alcohol, it would be like the most realistic similarity, the most realistic like comparison to a alien symbiote that at least I can think of off the top of my head. So, okay, he didn't see her, he didn't mean to. I don't know, I still feel like it's a little rocky. But again, like, you know, Peter hit her, and we'll get into spoilers for No Way Home in 3, 2, 1. So, in Spider-Man No Way Home, of course, Tobey says that, like, it's complicated, but we make it work. And we can assume that's probably Mary Jane, because again, with that movie, they didn't really, like, expand upon any of their universes much. They kind of just, like, left them concrete, and then branched off of what they could work with that, so to speak. So, all in all, what I'm trying to say is that I don't think, like, Peter is as innocent as everyone is saying. It's a toxic relationship. You can maybe forgive the hitting, or at least some people can. You know, some people say it's unforgivable to hit a woman. You know, where do you lie in that spectrum? I say it's kind of like, even if you didn't mean to, like, I'd say that, like, speaking from what I've, you know, read and seen and heard, that if, you know, if you have those levels of aggression, and even if you don't mean to, and maybe, let's say he, like, got rid of the symbiote for good, everything's fine in that particular universe. Because in the comics, of course, like, you know, he'll throw it on and off and on and off, and it's a never-ending battle for comic sales. But let's say in that universe, maybe he got rid of it, it's fine, it's all good. Okay, but again, also, like, what's Mary Jane gonna think about being hit? We have to take it from her perspective a little bit, as we are with this video. You know, if she sees that side of him, like, maybe that's why Tobey says that it's complicated, because, like, I mean, if you, especially Spider-Man, Peter Parker, the Tobey Maguire universe, that's the nicest, gentlest, you know, most docile kind of guy you can meet. And then he, like, puts on a symbiote and, like, I'm assuming, like, I believe he, like, elbows her or something, like, backhands her. I'm not sure exactly what happened off the top of my head, but, you know, he hits her. So I'm assuming she's probably going to think somewhat differently of him, even if he does change for good, you know, like, I mean, that's still going to affect the relationship somehow, some way. Okay, so, like, again, maybe some people can forgive this symbiote thing. Some people also said, like, oh, she deserved it for cheating on him, which is not an excuse at all, but whatever. Okay, so, like, he didn't see her, he didn't mean to, fine. But again, they still, like, they both cheated on each other. It wasn't like Peter, like, took the higher ground and, like, said, like, we need counseling or anything. Because, like, okay, she cheats on Harry with Peter. And, again, that's, like, the first thing I think that she really does that's, like, bad. And that's to Harry. And they don't ever go out again. And then, okay, she cheats on, like, every guy, fine, whatever. But then, you know, whenever she dated Peter, at least from what we see, and from memory, you know, he instigates the first, like, kiss, the first, like, cheating, infidelity thing. And, you know, cheats on her with, like, doing the upside down kiss thing, and you can argue that if you'd like, about him wearing the Spider-Man suit. Is it different? Does it make a difference? I don't know. I say, like, that's the first point of infidelity in Peter and Mary Jane's relationship. And again, Peter isn't the best at communicating his wants or needs. He's like, I love you, but I can't be with you because I'm Spider-Man. And there is a video by cracked.com. You should be able to find it. Maybe I can put a link to it. That mentions, at least, that holding your identity from the ones you love doesn't make much sense, because all you're doing is, like, the Green Goblin swoops in and, like, I want Peter Parker or something, and it's like, why do you want Peter Parker? Like, what, like, you know, it just kind of confuses your loved ones. It doesn't, like, protect them in a sense. So, again, that's all I wanted to throw out there. I might get attacked for this, but all I'm trying to say is, like, we don't need to, like, call Mary Jane a whore or, like, a whatever. Because all I see is memes that just, like, oh, Mary Jane's fucking stupid and she's a bitch and a whore and a slut. I'm probably going to get demonetized or whatever. But, you know, I don't think it's necessary, because I think they're both at fault. Peter doesn't communicate his wants and needs, and she doesn't communicate hers, and she's, like, goes about infidelity. And he, you know, does a little bit of infidelity as well. So, you know, let me know what you think in the comments below. Hopefully I have a review sometime soon. I don't know. Thanks for watching. Peace.